Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, this morning I was watching the news, and I'm not a big baseball person, but in passing, I was listening to the news as I was getting ready for work, and I heard them talk about Adam Jones from the Orioles baseball team. Apparently, when they were playing a game at Fenwick Park in Boston, people were calling this brother all kinds of niggers. One of the fans threw some peanuts at this brother. And, I just think that this is despicable, man. I just think it is outrageous. And it's just a wake up call. It's like these people are no longer censoring themselves. They are no longer putting on a charade. They are exposing themselves for who and what they are. Their horns are out. They are not playing anymore. They're not covering up their racism or their animosity anymore. They're not on, putting on fronts and shows anymore. It's like ever since, the election of Obama, these people, these hate mongers have just gone out of their way to expose themselves, to openly flaunt their racism. And this is just another example of this. I'm used to hearing about these situations occurring in Europe, and during soccer matches or what they call football over there. You're used to hearing about that, where these white people call black and African soccer players monkeys and all that kind of stuff, and reports of them throwing bananas on the field and all kinds of acts of racism. I'm used to hearing about that over there. I'm not quite used to hearing about that here in America in terms of athletes and how athletes are treated. Because in this society, often, these athletes, these black athletes are treated with respect in a lot of ways. They're elevated and celebrated as long as they're silent on social justice issues. As long as they're good at what they do and they stay away from politics and they just behave like a good Negro. Usually in this society, they're adored, at least publicly. But here you have an example where they basically crapped on this guy, called him all kinds of niggers and all that kind of stuff. And this is just a clear example of how it doesn't matter how successful somebody becomes. It doesn't matter how rich a black man becomes in this society or a black woman. At the end of the day, you're still just a nigger in the eyes of some of these people. That's how they see you and that's how they treat you. They don't care what kind of fancy car you have. They don't care what kind of mansions you can buy. That's why, this whole notion that everything is all about, class and economics. I mean, all of that falls to the wayside when you have situations like this. You have situations where these athletes or other prominent, wealthy black people are subjected to the same kind of racial profiling and bigotry that we are subjected to as everyday citizens. And this is just a reminder that it doesn't matter how much status you acquire. You're still just a nigger in the eyes of these people. I mean, the biggest example of that would be President Obama when he was the president. I mean, here you had an educated brother, a brother who went to the best Ivy League schools, went to Columbia, went to Harvard, was the president of the Harvard Law Review, somebody who became a senator, somebody who was an accomplished author, a man who achieved great things no matter what people think about his politics. Despite achieving all that status and all that recognition, all that fame and, power, at the end of the day, that brother was just another nigger in the minds of these people. They made that clear every day when they blocked his appointment to the Supreme Court, when they called him a liar during the State of the Union address, when they depicted this brother and his family as a family of chimpanzees and apes, when they depicted this brother as a terrorist, when they demanded that this brother produce his paperwork, produce his papers to prove his citizenship. These people don't care what kind of status you acquire in life. At the end of the day, you're just another nigger. And this is just a wake-up call. It's just a reminder. And it just seems like more of this stuff is happening now that Trump is in office. I mean, it's like these people have basically had their coming out party where they come out and let the world know how racist they are. They let the world know how racist they were when they had voted for this man, Trump, a man who openly pandered to white supremacists, a man who has appointed a damn white supremacist as his chief political strategist. And this whole thing just makes me think about, like, what was the appropriate action that should have been taken in this case? I mean, where these fans are acting crazy, calling this brother niggers and all that kind of stuff, throwing peanuts at him. Apparently they kicked the guy out. One of the fans who threw the peanuts at him, they kicked him out of the stadium. But that's a temporary fix. That guy's probably going to be back at the next game. It's probably going to be more of that kind of stuff going on and no real solution to the problem. And, I just think it's outrageous. And it's obviously, I understand, like, that fans are going to root for their home team and they're going to boo, the visiting team. I get that. But when you go into calling somebody niggers and all that kind of stuff and throwing peanuts at them, if that guy would have tried that in Baltimore, he would have been in ICU, or he would be in worse condition than that. If he would have tried calling somebody a nigger in Baltimore, come on, man. It's crazy. But I just had to share that story with you. And yeah, it's just so outrageous, man. It's like every other day we're reminded of just how, in so many ways, this country is still struggling with racism, because that's what this country was founded on, despite all these illusions of progress and even some progress in the society. There's still a long way to go. And, this brother, despite facing that kind of treatment and all that kind of stuff, the brother still maintained his composure afterwards. He still maintained his class and dignity. I don't think I could do that. I really don't. I probably would have went off when that guy threw some peanuts at me. And apparently this brother, continued to play the game and, got revenge by putting on a great game, by doing well on the field. So, yeah, I just wanted to share my thoughts about that situation. So tell me what y'all think. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. Peace.